I don't love you, Ava. I don't think I ever did. That's the exact sentence that shattered my life on a Tuesday night in January, while I was 6 months pregnant, holding a bowl of reheated chicken soup I'd made for him. My name's Ava Mitchell. I'm 32, used to be a third-grade teacher. Gave up everything I had in Portland to move to a quiet town in eastern Oregon with my boyfriend, Chase Miller. He had just left the Army Reserve after 10 years and said he wanted peace, wanted us. So I followed him, like a fool. We found a modest little place near the foothills, rented it together. I decorated the nursery with secondhand furniture, painted clouds on the ceiling. I'd been working part-time at the local library, saving every cent I could. I made slow cooker dinners, folded his laundry, rubbed his back when the nightmares hit. I thought this was what building a life looked like. I was wrong. That night, I remember, the air inside the house was sharp. Cold seeped in through the cracks of the old window frames. He came home late from meeting a buddy, his boots stomping louder than usual. He didn't even look at me. Just peeled off his coat, sat down, and said it like he was ordering takeout. I don't love you. I don't think I ever did. I blinked. Thought I heard it wrong. Thought maybe he was tired, drunk, or joking. But no. He was staring straight at me, elbows on his knees, jaw tight like he'd been rehearsing the line. What are you saying? I asked, my voice barely coming out. I'm saying, he said slowly, I can't do this. The house, the baby, the small-town fantasy, I thought I could. But I can't. I stood there in my fuzzy socks, belly heavy under my old sweatshirt, soup growing cold in my hands. I felt like I was watching it all from outside my body. Is there someone else? I asked, though I already knew the answer. You don't pull away like that without somewhere else to land. He exhaled, shrugged. Then he said her name. Lauren, a medic from his unit. We reconnected. Like my pregnancy was a networking inconvenience. I don't need you here anymore, Ava, he added. I'll cover the rest of the lease. You can go back to Portland or wherever. My ears rang, my vision blurred, but I didn't scream, didn't throw anything. I walked to the bedroom, opened the closet, and pulled down my old duffel bag. I packed in silence. My hand brushed over the tiny onesies folded in the top drawer. I took them too. He didn't follow. Didn't stop me. Didn't even ask where I was going. By midnight, I was standing on the porch in the freezing dark, snow biting through my shoes, one hand on my belly, the other clutching the duffel. I couldn't go back to Portland. My old apartment had been sublet. My job was gone. My parents were long out of the picture. I sat in my car, engine running, the heater barely blowing warm, and stared at my phone. One name blinked back at me. Jamie, my half-sister. We weren't close. Hell, we barely spoke at Mom's funeral last year. Different moms, same dad. Always treated each other like unwanted reminders of family failure. But she was the only person I had left who might not slam a door in my face. I hesitated, then tapped call. It rang once, twice. Then her voice came through, groggy and confused. Ava? I opened my mouth to speak, but the sob came first. Loud, guttural, raw. And when I finally caught my breath, I said the 6 words I never thought I'd say. Jamie, I need a place to stay. Jamie didn't ask why I was crying. She just said, come, and dropped a pin to her place 3 hours away. No lecture, no questions, just that one word. Come. Like a rope tossed to someone drowning. I don't even remember the drive. Just flashes. Snow-covered roads, gas station coffee, my belly tightening every time Hazel kicked. By the time I pulled up to her building, an aging duplex above a nail salon in Bend, I was running on fumes. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. She opened the door barefoot in sweatpants and a hoodie, her dark hair piled messily on her head. Looked at me for half a second, then reached out and took my bag without a word. I sleep in the back, she said. You can have the couch. It's ugly but soft. I stood there for a beat, my breath catching on the lump in my throat. Then I nodded. The next few days were weird. Jamie worked night shifts at a hospice center, so we rarely crossed paths except in passing. She'd leave reheated leftovers in the fridge with sticky notes like, "Eat, dummy," or, "This tastes better than it looks, I promise." Sometimes she'd buy prenatal vitamins and just leave them on the counter without a word. I didn't know how to thank her without unraveling completely. One afternoon, about a week in, I passed out in her shower. I guess my blood pressure dropped, or maybe I hadn't eaten enough. One minute I was rinsing shampoo. The next I was waking up on the tile, cold and soaked, Jamie's panicked voice yelling, Ava, damn it, open your eyes." She drove me to the ER herself, swearing the whole way. At the hospital, after they stabilized me, she sat at the edge of the bed, arms crossed, eyes fierce. "You want to hate me? Fine. But don't you dare die in my bathroom and leave that baby alone. I'm not burying you." It hit me like a slap. I wasn't just grieving Chase. I was giving up on myself. That night, I broke. Told her everything. About Chase. The other woman. The cold way he'd said, "I don't need you here." About how small I felt. How scared. How angry. Jamie didn't say much, just listened. At some point, she reached out and held my hand. And I let her. Something shifted after that. We weren't friends exactly, but we stopped being enemies. Weeks passed. I got a part-time job shelving books at the local library. Minimum wage, but better than nothing. I waddled to work with a thrift store coat zipped half open and Hazel kicking like she was doing cartwheels. Jamie left me sandwiches in the fridge and asked about doctor appointments with that dry, half-caring tone she used to mask how much she actually gave a damn. Then came the 24-week ultrasound. I was alone. Jamie was at work. The tech went quiet halfway through. You know that silence, when they stop chatting and start staring. After what felt like hours, the doctor came in and said the baby might have a congenital heart defect. "We won't know for sure until further imaging," he said gently, "but it's something we need to monitor closely." I nodded like I understood. Like I wasn't dying inside. That night, I told Jamie in the kitchen. Her face went pale. Then she grabbed 2 mugs, filled them with whatever whiskey she had left, and shoved one into my hands. "To hell," she said, raising hers. "And back." I didn't drink it, but I clinked hers anyway. I didn't sleep much that week. I'd lie on the couch with one hand on my belly, whispering to Hazel, "You hang in there, baby girl. Mama's got you." I didn't care what Chase thought. I didn't care if he never showed up again. This was my fight now. But fate had one more slap in store. 2 days later, I was walking out of the clinic with Jamie. She'd managed to switch shifts and come with me for moral support. We were laughing about how awful the cafeteria sandwiches were when a woman bumped into me on the sidewalk. Tall, blonde, military posture. Smelled like lavender lotion and smugness. She glanced at my belly and smiled. "You must be Ava." I froze. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" Her smile widened. "Number, but I'm Lauren. I'm with Chase now. He told me about the baby." I couldn't breathe. "And," she added, eyes cold as glass, "we've been talking to a lawyer. He wants joint custody when she's born. We just think it's the right thing." My vision went red. Jamie stepped in front of me, fists clenched. "You need to walk away. Now." Lauren just smirked. "See you soon, Mama." I don't remember how many steps I took after Lauren said it. "Chase wants shared custody. We've spoken to a lawyer. We just think it's the right thing to do." The right thing? She had no idea how many nights I held my belly alone in the ER. No idea how I lived on instant oatmeal for weeks just to afford prenatal vitamins. No idea what it meant to carry a child while wondering if anyone would still be there when you delivered her into the world. To her, I was just a temporary vessel. A problem she and Chase could now legally manage. When I got back to Jamie's apartment, my whole body shook. Rage, fear, pure helpless fury. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I sat on the kitchen floor back against the fridge and whispered to myself, "No one is taking her from me. No one." Jamie stood across the room, arms crossed. Then, wordlessly, she dropped to the floor beside me. "We fight," she said, staring ahead. "You're not alone." The next week was a whirlwind. I found a lawyer, Nadine Cortez, a firecracker of a woman who looked like she ate deadbeat dads for breakfast. Sharp tongue, sharper mind. She flipped through my medical records, my rental agreement, my pitiful paycheck from the library, then gave me a nod. "We're not letting them drag you through the mud." I told her everything. How Chase kicked me out. How I collapsed in the shower. How Lauren had the nerve to approach me in public, belly out, and call herself the right thing. Nadine just asked one question. "Is there anyone who can testify on your behalf? About your condition, your living situation, your efforts?" I opened my mouth, then paused. Jamie spoke up before I could. "I'll testify," she said. "Whatever she needs." Life didn't stop. I still shelved books, still worked tired and swollen. Every night Hazel would kick, and I'd talk to her like she was already here. "Hang in there, baby girl. Mama's not giving up." Then came the follow-up cardiac scan. Jamie came with me, switching shifts just to be there. We waited in that fluorescent-lit room that smelled like bleach and despair. The doctor walked in holding a thick file. Mid-30s, exhausted eyes, kind smile. "I won't sugarcoat this," he said gently. "It looks like your daughter may have tetralogy of Fallot, a congenital heart defect that will require surgery not long after birth." The floor tilted. I couldn't breathe. Jamie grabbed my hand so tightly I felt my knuckles crack. "But there's good news," the doctor added quickly. "A surgical team from Portland is coming for a sponsored program. One of the best in the field is leading it, Dr. Ryan Patel. He'll be reviewing your case." I nodded, dazed. I wasn't just protecting Hazel from a bad father anymore. I was fighting for her life. A few days later, I was working a slow afternoon shift at the library. Everything felt ordinary, until a man came to the desk asking about medical books. He was tall, neatly dressed, quiet confidence. "I'm Dr. Patel," he said, setting down a canvas tote. "Just moved here last week. I'm reviewing some pediatric surgery cases for the community clinic. I'd like to check out anything you've got on congenital conditions." I stared at him. "You've got to be kidding me." Sure," I said, blinking. "We've got a few in the health section." He glanced at my name tag. "Ava. That's a beautiful name." I opened my mouth to respond, but my phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. "We've spoken to the attorney. If you don't cooperate, we'll be filing for emergency guardianship. See you in court. Chase." My hands trembled. Blood drained from my face. I looked up. Dr. Patel was watching me, eyebrows knit with quiet concern. Not pity, just presence. I swallowed hard. "Do you believe a mother will fight to the bitter end?" I asked, "even when the whole world's stacked against her?" He didn't hesitate. "Always," he said. "There's this moment after you hit rock bottom, when you're no longer scared of losing anything, because everything's already been taken. That's when the shift happens." For me, it started with one small decision. I showed up to court. I didn't just walk in. I arrived. Hair pinned up, black maternity dress, Hazel shifting in my belly like she knew her mother was about to go to war. Jamie stood beside me in a blazer she borrowed from her ex-girlfriend. Nadine, my lawyer, was already waiting at the bench, arms crossed like a pissed-off hawk ready to strike. Chase sat at the other end of the room in a tailored suit that looked too expensive for someone who couldn't afford child support. Lauren was next to him, pretending to be sweet, like she hadn't ambushed me on a sidewalk and dropped a legal bomb with a smirk. But this time, I wasn't the one shaking. The judge asked for preliminary statements. Nadine stood up and didn't hold back. She laid it all out. How I'd been kicked out while pregnant, how I'd been the sole provider, how I'd been diagnosed with high-risk pregnancy and still held down a job, all while Chase sent one check for $250 and ghosted me for 6 months. She ended with this: "Your Honor, the other party hasn't even been present for a single prenatal appointment. But now, just weeks before delivery, they'd like joint custody. My client believes this is not about parenting. It's about control." I could feel the courtroom shift. The air went colder. Chase's lawyer tried to spin some garbage about fatherly rights and rebuilding relationships. But no one bought it. Jamie passed me a note while they talked. "He looks like a sad Lego man." I snorted quietly. It helped. When the hearing ended, nothing was finalized. But the judge ordered Chase to attend Hazel's next cardiac evaluation since they were so eager to be involved. That was a win for me, because I knew he wouldn't show. He never did when it actually mattered. But here's where everything really changed. A few days later, I walked into the clinic and spotted Dr. Patel again. He was leaning over a folder at the front desk, talking to one of the nurses. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but then I heard something that stopped me cold. "Nurse, so you were in New York? Why'd you leave that big shot hospital job?" Patel, with a small smile. "Too much ego, not enough humanity, and someone I loved passed. I needed to reset. Oregon felt quieter." My stomach twisted. That night, after Hazel's scan, I caught him in the hallway. "Hey," I said, biting my lip. "Do you want to grab coffee sometime?" He looked up, surprised, but nodded. "Yeah, I'd like that." We went to this tiny place tucked behind the old post office. No fancy drinks, just bitter drip coffee and day-old muffins. But we talked for hours. About family, fear, faith, and failure. He never asked for anything. Never flirted or pushed, he just showed up. Again and again. He even started stopping by the library, asking me what to read next. He said he hadn't read fiction in years. I handed him The Secret Life of Bees and warned him it'd wreck him. He smiled. "Good. I like stories that leave a mark." That's when I realized, not all men walk away. 2 weeks before my due date, I came home to find a thick envelope on the kitchen counter. Jamie raised an eyebrow. "That guy from the clinic dropped it off. Said it was for Hazel." I opened it, heart pounding. Inside, a letter from Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital, confirming Hazel's place on their surgical program. Full coverage of the operation cost. Travel and lodging covered for both of us. And one handwritten note at the bottom. "She's already got the heart of a fighter. Let's make sure it keeps beating. Ryan." I sat down on the couch, stunned. He hadn't told me. He didn't ask for thanks. He just did it. And right when I thought I couldn't cry anymore, Jamie tossed something else onto the table. A printed screenshot. I picked it up. It was a GoFundMe page. Started by Lauren. Title: "Support our custody battle. Help Chase and I fight for our daughter." I felt the blood drain from my face. They were crowdfunding their attempt to take my baby. I stared at the screen, jaw locked so tight my teeth ached. There it was, a GoFundMe page created by Lauren. "Support our custody battle. Help Chase and I fight for our daughter." They had raised $1,300 in 2 days, complete with photos of a smiling, pregnant Lauren holding a tiny pink onesie. No mention of me. No mention of the fact that I was the one carrying Hazel, working double shifts, attending every damn appointment alone. No mention that Chase hadn't bought a single diaper. Jamie stormed into the room mid-scroll, took one look at my face, and said, "Who do I need to punch?" But I didn't want fists. Not this time. I wanted proof. I took screenshots. Every post, every comment, every dollar. Then I called Nadine. She picked up halfway through the first ring. "Tell me you're sitting down," I said. By noon the next day, Nadine filed an emergency motion to present the fundraiser in court as evidence of bad faith intent to manipulate custody for financial gain. It worked. The judge called an early hearing. When we walked in, Chase and Lauren were already there, dressed like they were headed to brunch. Lauren wore soft pink, hair curled. Chase looked bored, scrolling on his phone. He didn't even glance at me. But when Nadine handed the judge the printed GoFundMe campaign with highlighted captions, the room changed. The judge's brow furrowed. "Mr. Miller," she said sharply, "can you explain the nature of this online campaign?" Chase stammered. "It's just to help with, legal fees. Fees for a custody case involving a child who has not yet been born, and whose biological mother you currently owe over $3,000 in unpaid support." His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Lauren tried to speak. "We were just trying to—" "This is not your child," the judge cut in. "You are not legally connected to this child in any way, Ms. Bennett. Please remain silent." Jamie gripped my arm under the table so tight I could feel the blood stop. The judge turned back to Chase. "Until this child is born, you have no parental rights. You abandoned the mother during a high-risk pregnancy. You have no financial record of support. And now you're attempting to raise funds for a legal battle you have no standing for?" Chase looked like he'd been slapped. The judge wasn't done. "This court is placing a preemptive restriction on any third-party custody filings until paternity is proven and a postnatal stability review is completed. Additionally, this fundraiser is to be shut down within 24 hours. Failure to do so will result in a fraud investigation." Dead. Silence. Then, calmly, I stood. "Your Honor," I said, voice steady, "I have one request." She nodded. "Go ahead." "I'd like it on the record that when Hazel is born, her birth certificate will have my name and only my name on it. Not his. Not hers. Mine." The judge didn't blink. So ordered. And just like that, it was done. Hazel was born 2 weeks later, 5 pounds, 10 ounces, with a full head of jet black hair and a fighting scream that shook the walls. Dr. Patel was there the whole time, guiding the nurses, keeping Jamie calm when I lost too much blood. Hazel needed surgery at just 4 days old. I stayed at her side the entire time. Chase never showed, never called, never even texted. But Ryan did. He held my hand through the longest night of my life. And when Hazel finally opened her eyes after surgery, he cried with me. I haven't heard from Chase or Lauren since the court ruling. I know from someone in town that the GoFundMe backlash ruined them socially. People pulled their donations and called them out. Chase lost a job offer at a local firm. Lauren went silent online. And I named my daughter Hazel Ava Mitchell. No hyphens, no debate. My name, my blood, my fight, and mine to protect. If I've learned anything from this, it's that silence is not strength. I used to think that staying quiet made me dignified, that not reacting made me mature. But I've learned that some battles need to be fought out loud. Not for revenge, but for truth. For our children, for ourselves. If you've ever gone through something like this or are in it now, I'm listening. Leave your story in the comments. Let's not go through this alone. And if this hit something deep in you, you're welcome to stay a while. I've got more stories. Real ones. Just like this. Thanks for being here. Hazel and I? We're doing just fine.